Do you feel like video essays are getting worse? Now, I ask because it seems like a pretty popular opinion these days. There are, in fact, lots of video essays about how video essays need to be better video essays. And this is the best one of those, by the way. And you could be forgiven for thinking that's what this is too, but you'd actually be wrong. Still, video essays are a funny thing. It's definitely a style of video that has settled into its own. It's been around long enough to crystallize its own genre conventions. And that's not a problem, by the way. Genre is awesome. But I do feel that what was once an experimental medium has now become a bit of a cottage industry. And when something becomes a cottage industry, there's an identifiable path of least resistance. So in order to understand just how we got here, we're gonna need to go all the way back to 1997. Nah, I'm f***ing with you. But you see what I did there, right? Of course, not all video essays adhere to the same formula. At this point, there are a lot of very identifiable subtypes. So Zoomers, you're in luck. We're gonna do a quick taxonomy. Zoomers love... Okay, there's the Jacob Geller style, which functions just as much of a tone piece in addition to whatever the subject of the essay is about. You know, when done well, these are the essays that can be described as haunting. It's moody as hell, and honestly, I just love it. Then you've got your classic Lindsay Ellis / ContraPoint style essay, where the focus is much more academic and critique driven. It's the two faces of old school breadtube. ContraPoint style stuff incorporates big theater kid energy with skits and costumes and lighting and all that stuff. And the Lindsay Ellis style is much more straightforward. Now, I don't really count commentary style videos as video essays though, right? They're functionally vlogs. Nothing wrong with it. I just see it as existing outside the genre. Some videos do straddle the line between vlog and essay, and I put those into the observational comedy sort of bin, but we'll get to that in a second. Okay, next we got the short animated style, usually going for broad ideas or fast emotional impact. And then the more recent high production value, fast-paced, artsy stuff. You know, shot on a fancy camera, very cinematic, color graded within an inch of its life. Not all of it is good, but when it's good, it sings, really. I was gonna say that Ro Ramdin is the queen of this style, but she's just started to straight up make films. If you want a large creator genuinely pushing the video essay genre forward, it's her bar none. I cannot speak more highly of her most recent thing. It's fucking incredible. There's also the documentary style, guys like, Dan Olson, smaller creators like Pictures Up, that great channel, check that one out. And finally, you have the fast-paced anarcho-nerd style. That's your Hank Green, CJDX, Art Chad, who, by the way, counts as the observational comedy thing that I mentioned before. That's different. At any rate, this style is the one that I personally splash around in most of the time. And you can draw a direct line between it and Tim and Eric Awesome Show, great job, but that's another video. Anyway, enough taxonomy. If there's a problem with video essays, the recognizable formula isn't really it. Tropes, standards, and conventions are what make up genre. They're rules meant to be either followed or broken. Either path is viable, so long as what you make is good. No one's gonna be mad at a horror movie that doesn't break any conventions, so long as it kicks ass. And no one's really gonna care about a horror movie that transcends all the rules if it sucks. Painting by numbers is different than working within conventions. It's operating in a safe, broad zone. It's routine. One can follow the other, but they're not necessarily tied together. This is a common criticism of videos on YouTube these days, and one that I mostly share. Long videos are a creator's best shot to make any kind of revenue from ads, and posting frequently is a creator's best shot to grow their channel. Those obviously aren't very compatible. So in order to make long stuff quickly, quality typically goes by the wayside. It's the freelancer's dilemma. There's good, there's fast, and there's cheap, and no one can give you all three. You have to pick two. Doesn't matter which two, but it can only be two. If you want something fast and good, you have to pay people enough to give them a big incentive to drop literally everything and lock in. And even then, there are limits. And YouTube does not pay well. So, given the demands of the lords of our digital fiefdoms, we get an increase in slop and, otherwise good videos are stuffed with filler. I think to an extent, this is pretty much true of all creative mediums right now. Due to various technological and economic developments and pressures, art industries have become increasingly more risk-averse and markets increasingly more flooded. It's easier to be a creator of pretty much any kind, but harder to get paid for it. And algorithmically curated platforms create a dynamic dynamic wherein the few very successful people in a given industry or genre like video essays wind up absorbing most of the attention, which means it's even harder to break through as a smaller creator. The algorithmic push of larger creators forms tailwinds that become your headwinds, right? Because the algorithm wants to favor stuff that gets attention, and so the people who already get a lot of attention get pushed more than stuff that has the potential to be attention grabbing but hasn't gotten the chance yet. All the more incentive to do risk-averse content, right? But I submit to you that what might suck more than all of this slopification is the backlash to it. Like, the pushback against shallow videos and essays from audiences might be doing just as much harm. For one thing, the knowledge of algorithmic incentives makes audiences paranoid. I've been accused of padding for time on 10-minute videos back when my channel had 1,000 subscribers and wasn't even remotely monetized. It's fair to think that a section of a video is unnecessary, but that's not always the same thing as a creator cynically padding for time. Worse, though, is that this ubiquitous backlash is training audiences to associate context, slow pacing, their own boredom, and sections of a video that are as yet unresolved with bullshit. And that's not necessarily true. Sometimes art needs to be a slow burn. Sometimes you do have to go all the way back to the 19th century to understand the ontology of, whatever it is. And sometimes there needs to be elements that feel unresolved or out of place or not strictly necessary. A lot of people have begun to approach videos and essays as raw information vessels. So if an hour-long video essay can be summarized in 10 minutes, it gets accused of being overlong. And I don't know, maybe it is, but if you want the fastest, most immediately gratifying way to hear the creator's opinion, you don't want a video essay, you want spark notes. And keyword there is here, right? Because everyone wants videos to sort of double as podcasts or audiobooks, but they're not those things. They're videos. You're supposed to watch them. You don't have to. I get that people sometimes put stuff on in the background. Sometimes so do I. But you can't complain about a video being surface level if you're ignoring literally half of the information it's trying to give you. Also, if you're scrolling for quick little morsels of info that make you feel like you learned something, you can't be surprised when you get served shallow stuff. Anything can be summarized in a few minutes. You have to let creators try to build a mood, set a scene, strike a chord, construct a flow of narrative, and, crucially, fail at those things. That's how you eventually get good things. It's how you get an evolving culture. It's how you expand genre. It's how new stuff happens. Also, because very few people come out of the gate being incredible. You gotta fail in order to get to that place. And those that do come out of the gate being incredible make the rest of us very, very sad and jealous. I should reiterate the increased level of slop, the overlong run times, the procedural observations passed off as analysis. It's all very bad. It's definitely a big problem. I emphatically agree. We do not like this. This is not a vibe. I do have to say, though, despite the fact that I agree that there's been a negative impact on art because of risk-averse systems, I don't think that means that things are more shallow or that there's less good art overall. It just means that it's harder to find the good art, and the good art is probably getting less views. Not always, but often. You kind of have to seek it out. There's more of it out there than ever. It's just, it's not really getting its due. But you could change that, couldn't you? Yes, you could. A lot of people have suggested that simply switching platforms to a subscription-based model instead of an ads-based model would eliminate most or at least a lot of these incentives, but I don't buy it. Subscription platforms still have algorithms optimized for views and retention, and they always wind up sneaking ads back in there anyway. Just look at all the streaming services. Oh, and speaking of advertisements, hi, I turned down a lot of gross AI sponsorship deals, and I'm also very broke. Wow. So, like and subscribe and maybe join my Patreon already. Don't be the last one of your friends to give me money. Money is how I stay alive. There's nothing wrong with our economic system. Hey, yeah, so this is a part where the video gets a little bit off the rails. Hi, I'm another Chris. Yeah, no, I know the jacket's cool. I'm here to connect the uneven tissue of the rest of the video. In this next section, I start talking about how
What do I start talking about?
One of the things I always appreciated about essays, video or otherwise, is that they're like the mirror image of literature and film, where you're supposed to show and not tell.
Right. I start talking about subtext and how it functions in video essays.
In showing and not telling, subtext is the order of the day for film and literature. So, breaking the fourth wall, or thoughtfully telling and not showing, becomes a transgressive thing to do in those mediums. Meanwhile, in essays, breaking the fourth wall and saying exactly what you mean is like, it's like the whole thing, right? It's the whole point. Which means in essays, subtext is the transgressive thing, right? It's reversed.
And what I don't make clear is the whole point of that is to steelman the argument that outside forces and algorithmic forces are keeping creators from doing something more substantial.
It takes a lot of time to develop and realize good visual subtext, and time is a luxury often reserved for those creators who have already made it. You know, in other words, this is their full-time job.
Okay, here I start talking about content.
Content.
For some unclear reason. The idea is that I think that because we use the word content all the time, creators and like audiences, everything's content, all media is content, it makes us
slowly accept the devaluation of creativity and art and everything in between.
So everything just gets sort of cheapened because it's all seen as kind of stuff.
We start treating it like a thing we're entitled to.
And it leads people to demand goofy things like, why isn't this video essay a quick little summary?
I mean, think about the countless times fandoms have raised complaints and started petitions over not getting a cathartic ending or a cathartic death for their favorite character, or, you know, whatever it is.
And now I go on talking about catharsis for some reason. Nah, it's okay, I know the reason.
There's definitely a time and a place for catharsis, but it's also important to know when to withhold release.
But it gets a little sexy.
The value of release is immediately obvious to anyone. Otherwise, we wouldn't be so susceptible to quick, easy pleasure.
But it gets a little sexy.
I admit sounds a little Freudian.
The reason why I'm talking about catharsis and tension and release and all this stuff is like, just to say that, yeah, art does do that. And so I understand if that's what you expect. You shouldn't just always expect immediate gratification or some big wow learning moment or emotional gut punch or something. Like sometimes something just sort of leaves you in tension.
Which is more instructive and activating than like tidy little examinations.
Because we're so trained to want catharsis, people ask video essays to do weird shit, like fucking educate me and make me feel something in 5 minutes, otherwise it's not worth my time. What the fuck are we doing here?
There should be ample space to encourage ambitious, weird, risky, difficult shit.
So that's the point of that.
Speaking of selling creative work short, there's just one last thing I want to mention.
And I'm going to go talk about that now.
You know, there's that whole content isn't activism discourse that happens a lot. I think that mantra also has a double edge.
I don't like that.
Because no one except total morons has any problem immediately recognizing that like a hate channel is a directly harmful thing.
I feel too perceived.
You want me? I was gonna ask if you wanted me to go somewhere else.
Yeah. I might need you to, I'm sorry.
And genuinely moves the needle toward a certain type of social climate. But the moment some queer kids start making videos with bisexual lighting about how capitalism is bad, it's never gonna do anything.
All right.
Like, which is it? Is the medium impactful or isn't it? Just because it has limits that prevent it from functioning like a pipe bomb doesn't mean the best anyone can do is the Discovery Channel for people who like left-wing politics or whatever.
Okay, all right.
Anyway.
All right, and then finally I try to end the video with like some goofy flowery notion that
we are taking parts of ourselves.
We all got to be more human and stuff. And that's all great, but I'm kind of done with that version of myself, you know? What I'm really trying to say is just stop thinking about media like it's content. Start curating and being more intentional about the way that you engage with stuff. And try to remember that this is like a human experience. This is why everyone like hates AI. There's no humanity in it. So it sucks to find out that something wasn't made with someone's, you know, soul. So even if it's a goofy video essay, you want some soul in it.
Blah, 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 blah.
So yeah, I don't know. Final point, stop treating video essays like they're fucking Wikipedia.